I'd like to call a meeting to order. This meeting is being held in the council chambers and is open for public attendance and participation. Can I have a roll call, please?
Chairperson Silman. Vice Chairperson Brookman.
Here.
Commissioner Knorr.
Here.
Commissioner Sandu.
Here.
Commissioner Gill. Commissioner Dale.
Here.
Commissioner Campbell.
Here.
Let the record show that Chair Silman and Commissioner Gill have excused absences for this meeting. All right, pledge. Commissioner Sandu, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment on items not on the agenda. You are welcome and encouraged to participate in this meeting. Public comment on items not listed on the agenda will be heard at this time. Comments on controversial items may be limited in large groups and are encouraged to select representatives to express the opinions of the group. Written request. Members of the public submitted written request at least 24 hours prior to the meeting will be normally allotted 5 minutes to speak. Do I have any comments from the public on this item?
There are no written comments.
Having none, we will move on. Appearance of interested citizens. Members of the public may address the Planning Commission on items of interest that are within the city's jurisdiction. Individuals addressing general comments are encouraged to limit their statements to 3 minutes. Do I have any comments from the public on this item? Having none, we'll move on. Planning Commission business, agenda modifications. Any commissioners or staff have any interest in modifying the agenda?
No, sir.
None heard. Minutes from June 12th, 2024. And commissioners have any interest in changing or modifying the minutes that they've already made? Or if so, please make a motion.
All motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes. Business items. On this, I plan to recuse myself when I call the next item. Before I do, is there any objection to using the longest-serving commissioner, Commissioner Dale, as the chair?
No objection.
Having no objections, it's on to you.
Awesome.
Reason for recusal is I live within 1,000 feet of the project.
Alrighty, good to go. Alrighty, so for item number 5, consideration of a 2-year time extension for Development Plan 19-04, Sutter Foods Agriculture and Cold Storage Facility located on 2175 Franklin Road. So I'll call Jaspreet for a presentation. There she is.
Good evening, Planning Commission. Today we have Development Plan 1904 for a time extension request. So in July 2020, we did receive the application and it was approved for the development of a 64,000 square foot agriculture processing and cold storage facility. On March 8, 2022, planning staff received a timely extension request. At that time, it was due to COVID, so they didn't begin construction. In May 2022, Planning Commission did approve a 2-year extension request with a new expiration date of July 22nd, 2022. And so now we that should say July 22nd, 2024. In June, we received another time extension request from the applicant, and they are requesting an extension due to the decrease in value of their commodities. So again, this is for prunes and walnuts, and an increase in construction costs. So the project site is located just north of Franklin Road and then west of North Harding, which the Howard Dryer. And here is the site plan. So they are proposing to have the building just along the frontage of Franklin Road. So here is the proposed building, and then they do have some new landscaping that will go in once they pull their building permit. And here's the elevation. So we've got the south, the east, and west, mainly just a steel building with landscaping. And we do have a block wall. So where the construction is going to occur, they are required to install a 6-foot masonry block wall. In 2020, we did do a mitigated negative declaration. So it contained the mitigation measures for the project, and staff has determined it is still valid and no additional environmental analysis is warranted with our extension tonight. So our recommendation is to approve a 2-year extension for Development Plan 1904, Sutter Foods Agricultural and Cold Storage Facility pursuant to City Municipal Code Section 8-5.7106, resulting in a new expiration date of July 22nd, 2026. And I am happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the commissioners or staff?
I have a question, and this is just out of curiosity. Is there a limit on the number of extensions they can request, or is it unlimited until they either build it or we determine that it no longer meets the zoning and the conditions that were approved?
Yes, so for a development plan, there is no limit. Our parcel maps do have 2 extension requests, but yes, so it is.
Great job on the presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any public comment? Okay, I'll close public comment. And you guys ready to make a motion? Alrighty.
I will make the motion to approve a 2-year extension of time for Development Plan DP 19-04 Sutter Foods Processing pursuant to City Municipal Code Section 8-5.7106, resulting in a new expiration date of July 22nd, 2026.
I'll second that motion.
So I'll call a vote. Do I say it person by person? Okay, roll call. So we will start with,
Commissioner Dale, are you requesting a roll call vote, or are we all just going to make a motion at one time?
I was just gonna do a motion at one time.
There you go. All those in favor?
Yeah, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we can have Chairman Brookman return. I'll make that clear next time.
All right, moving on to item 6, consideration of use permit 24-03 to construct a shell building with a drive-through located at the northwest corner of Walton Avenue and Franklin Road. Staff presentation by Associate Planner Jaspreet Kaur.
Good evening, Commissioners. You guys are going to see a pattern here tonight. I'm presenting, and they're all on Franklin Road. So use permit 2403, so we got the Franklin Plaza drive-through. So this is for construction of a new approximately 3,500 square foot building shell with a drive-through for a future tenant use. So with that being said, this is just for the exteriors, and whenever a tenant is going to move into the building or lease the building, they can apply for a tenant improvement building permit and construct the inside that's best fit for their business. So a drive-through is permitted in a C2 district with an approved use permit from the Planning Commission. So this is the site in red shown. So this one is just on the northwest corner of Walton Avenue and Franklin, where we have Falafel Guys, the arcade, there's the chiropractor, and then we also have the Franklin Pharmacy. So it's going to be this right here. And on this screen, I've shown you the site plan. So currently they have building 1 has been developed. This is the pharmacy. Building 2 is the arcade, Falafel Guys. And so this is going to be Building 3 on the west side of the parcel, and then Building 4 is going to be a future use. So a little bit of background. This site's gone through quite the changes. In April of 2007, City Council approved a general plan amendment and a rezone to change it from residential to commercial. And so those changes were made so the property owner could construct a new pharmacy. In December 2007, Planning Commission denied a use permit for an 8,300 square foot coffee house and drive-through facility. The commission was concerned due to the proposed building size, location, and circulation that it was too intense for the use of the property. In June 2012, Planning Commission approved a use permit to allow for a 3,500 square foot building and drive-through pharmacy. And in November 2014, there was another general plan amendment. So now this is the northern parcel. And that was also rezoned from rezoned from residential to commercial to allow for additional commercial and office building uses. So this site is primarily surrounded by commercial. So everything in red is our commercial zoned. This parcel right here is going to be my next presentation, getting ahead of myself here. So we've got Moose Lodge, and here we have a Chevron, and then we've got our pharmacy here. We also have some low, medium density residential, and right here is where not too long ago, the development plan for Merrimack was approved for, I think it was about 200 units. So the site and building design, the development will comply with our current standards, and we do have a condition that all of the queuing of vehicles must be on site and they cannot impact the public right-of-way. So even though it is towards the west side of the parcel, just in case like it's a high-use sort of restaurant, we want to make sure that there's no stacking on Walton or even Franklin, and it cannot affect the on-site parking and parking lot circulation. So that includes affecting the current businesses that are there. So the building design complements the existing buildings in the Franklin Plaza. So they're using the same stone veneer. The exterior lighting is similar with it's being decorative, and then the same paint colors. And so here are the elevations that were provided with the application. So again, the stone veneer with the lighting, the same colors that are at the existing buildings. We've got the south and the west elevation. And this is what it currently looks like, and this is what the future one will also look like. So a good way to envision what's coming. And for the landscaping, so they are proposing to add in landscaping, and there is going to be some minor site modifications. Over here is where there is currently an existing parking lot, so you'll see they're going to omit a few of the parking spots back here, add in landscaping, and then there is going to be sufficient parking for the new proposed use. For the use permit, there are findings that have to be made. All of these were presented in your staff reports, and I'm happy to go through any of them if needed. For the environmental assessment, after doing review, we concluded that it is exempt from CEQA under the infill development. And furthermore, that the categorical exemption set forth in CEQA guidelines section 15300.2 apply to this project, including that the project does not present any unusual circumstances. So tonight, I have the recommendation on the screen, and we're happy to answer any questions. I also have the applicant, Mr. Baines, here, if you have any questions for him as well.
Any commissioners have questions for staff?
Jaspreet, it was showing that there's a 12-vehicle stacking capacity, and it appears that from the map, that the vehicles will be queuing up in the same area as a parking lot. Is there a concern that a line will disrupt the exiting of vehicles that happen to be parked there?
Are you referring to this right here?
Yes.
So this is all going to be employee parking. So there is no concern if there is a queue. I mean, unless they're leaving work, might be a concern. But this is going to be only for employees, so there is no concern. And the site does have 33 additional parking spaces than what is required by the code.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Yeah, I have one. So our packet has a diagram that has like subject area overlaid in yellow. Do you see that?
Yes.
So I'm just wondering, is there going to be is there an entrance to the plaza there? I know that's a residential neighborhood there, but on the north end of this property, is there an entrance, a driveway? I know on Walton and Franklin there is.
Yes, so you can see, like, we're on that subject area, you can see the arrows. So it's right by where the chiropractor building is. So where the building begins, there is a driveway to enter in right there.
So there's 3 driveways?
There is two driveways, so one off of Walton and one off Franklin.
Okay. And then I can't remember that pharmacy. Does it has a drive-through as well, doesn't it?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. That's it. Thanks.
Anyone else?
One more. So, and thank you again, Jaspreet, for your presentation and for addressing, in particular, condition number 3. The concern I have with that condition is as it relates to another food service company in the city that has horrendous overflow onto a main 4-lane arterial right at one of the busiest intersections in town. So my question to staff is, was there a similar condition imposed on that business? And if so, how has that been addressed? Because it doesn't appear to have been addressed. And if not, and it occurs here, how's the city going to handle it? Ben? I see you taking the stand, so.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm assuming we're talking about is maybe Antonio's? Is that what?
No, actually, In-N-Out Burger.
In-N-Out Burger.
In-N-Out Burger.
Oh, gosh. Well, what I can tell you, since I've been with Development Services and we've, a couple of the projects that have come through are the new Starbucks on 20. And then also dealing with Antonio's through the COVID timeframes, and that we're really, we're making sure we're put this condition on almost every drive-through we're doing now. Okay. So historically, that hasn't been a condition. It's basically a drive-through comes through as a use permit. They give us a traffic study. They say it needs 10 vehicles. We look at the layout and we approve it. And then if it's an In-N-Out and all of a sudden it's got 50, or a Chick-fil-A and it's got 100, you know, and so we've been systematically putting this requirement in there, because there's the threat that we could pull their entitlement, or we could restrict their business license, you know, because, hey, it was a condition of their entitlement that they need to not impact traffic on Walton Avenue. When engineering looked at this one, there's a lot of room, the site's overparked, and really because of the visibility of that lot and being in the back, it's most likely not going to be one of your, you know, Dutch Brothers or your Chick-fil-A's, okay, because of the site and the location. And so we felt 12, 13 plus the overflow to be able to go back into the parking lot. It gave a lot of flexibility for this site, and the site's already been built out. So as far as the options, I know there's been a lot of talk with Julio's team and from the developer on kind of what they could coordinate and how to make it not impact the site. But yes, any new drive-through, we are very conscious of that. And if it's a known development, we're really paying attention. We're not getting generic numbers. We're getting specific to that use.
One last question, Ben, and I think you hit on this, but just to clarify it, does the city have the ability to deny an occupancy permit based on if a Chick-fil-A did want to go in there and the drive-through traffic would be deemed to be too egregious to be accommodated by that site? Or is it once we approve the building and the layout, they can basically lease it to
So
any?
if you approve the building and the layout's pretty much already been approved because of the site. If you approve, and say it's some crazy vendor, I would be able to code enforcement action. And then that would probably lead down the process of business license or some sort of fine penalty process.
So the free market would still be in play with respect to who they lease it to. It
Yeah.
would be then up to them then
But there
to.
would be some opportunities because they would have to submit a tenant improvement
Okay.
plan for the building improvement. And so when we receive those, that Dutch Brothers, before we approve that TI building permit, there could definitely be some discussions about how we're gonna mitigate that before we issue the building permit.
That's all I needed to hear. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. That's all, sir.
Any further questions? All right, I'd like to open public comment, public hearing. Anyone from the public want to speak on this? All right, close public hearing. Is the commission ready to make a motion?
Go ahead, Jim.
I get it. Make a motion to make a recommendation to adopt a resolution to determine is this the right one? Yeah. Adopt a resolution to determine the project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to guidelines section 15332, infill development and approved use permit 24-03, subject to the conditions of approval for the construction of a new 3,584 square feet building shell with a drive-through at Franklin Plaza on North Walton Avenue and north of Franklin Road.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a second. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Campbell,
Aye.
Commissioner Dale,
Aye.
Commissioner Sandu,
Aye.
Commissioner Noor,
Aye.
and Vice Chairperson Brookman.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on to item 7, consideration of tentative parcel map 23-05 and use permit 23-08 to subdivide a 5.82 acre parcel into 3 commercial lots and use permit for fuel sales, car wash, and restaurant with a drive-through located at the southwest corner of Walton Avenue and Franklin Road. Presentation by Associate Planner Jaspreet Kaur.
All right, good evening. We got tentative parcel map 2305 and use permit 2308, and this is for a Franklin Commercial Center. So tentative parcel map, the applicant is requesting to subdivide a 5.82 acre parcel into 3 commercial lots. So we've got the acreage listed above, and then there's also a use permit with this application. So it's going to be for a 4,500 square foot convenience store, 1,000 square foot restaurant with a drive-through, 8 dispenser, so 16 fueling stations, gas station, and an express car wash. So the community commercial district allows for fuel sales and a drive-through with an approved use permit by the Planning Commission. So the project location here, once again, we are on Franklin Road, and this is going to be our southwest corner, which is currently a vacant lot. So here, I'm just going to run through some aerials. So again, as I mentioned, it's the vacant lot just north of the Moose Lodge. So here we have it. I'm looking north, so just behind the trees here. Looking west. And this is the corner of Franklin Road and South Walton Avenue. And we have it looking east, so just to note that there is residential adjacent to this parcel. And then looking west, we do have the low, medium density residential as well as the commercial. And then to the south, you can see we've got the Franklin Plaza as well as the Chevron. So tentative parcel map, it's shown here. So again, we've got parcel 1. Currently, this is not part of the development tonight, considering or depending on what the use will be in the future, it may come back to Planning Commission, or it could be a ministerial approval. Parcel 2 is going to be 1.6 acres, and that is the proposed car wash. And parcel 1 is where we have our the fuel sales, so the gas station with the convenience store and the drive-through. And here is another picture, as you can see. So parcel 1 undeveloped, so it's not a part of the use permits tonight, but we do have the car wash and the canopy, and over here is where there's going to be the vacuum stations for the car wash. So there was a traffic study conducted, and the Franklin Road and Walton Avenue intersection is the only major intersection that's going to be impacted by this proposal. And the traffic study determined that under the existing traffic conditions plus the project, the level of service would remain at acceptable levels. So that's level of service D or better. And under the cumulative conditions, so the way that was calculated was taking, so that was using data from the Yuba City travel demand model and then the 2035 market scenario. It's stating that the level of service in some cases would fall below an acceptable level to an E or an F, and that's if there are no intersection improvements. So to lower the impacts, the traffic study is suggesting to create 2 eastbound left turn lanes on Franklin Road. So with this project, they are offering a dedication for the needed right-of-way that would accommodate any future intersection improvements. There was also a noise study that was prepared. This was more so for the car wash. So, for the car wash. So for the car wash, we do in our code also state that it has to be a minimum of 100 feet away from residential. So here, on the table, you can see the property to the north, south, and west. Without any mitigations, it exceeds our standard, the city noise standard. So with the mitigations in the noise study, so the first one is they're suggesting an 8-foot-high masonry wall. So the study does require 6 feet, but suggests up to 8 feet to cover any potential future uses and to help with the noise. So that would be along the west and the south perimeter of the property. Utilizing state-of-the-art technology for the car wash equipment. And then there is also another mitigation stating that the applicant is required to prepare a noise study after completion of the project to verify that it does comply with the current city noise standards. So once these mitigations are in place, you can see now that that the residential properties to the north, east, south, and west, it's now in compliance. When we did speak to the applicant, he did say that they will construct the 8-foot masonry wall on the west side of the property. And it'll be 6 feet on the south side of the property. So the building design, I think this is very unique to Yuba City, not something that we've seen come through yet, but it's a very modern look for the development. So it's some blacks, grays, glass windows, and so this one is for the convenience store and the drive-through. And for the canopy, so again, keeping the very clean lines with more of the modern look. And they are going to be including some wainscot towards the bottom to add a bit more of an architectural element to the site. For the car wash, so these are two completely different, so they're two lots, but a very unified look. So between the convenience store and then with our car wash, so similar colors, similar materials. So we've got the car wash, and on the west elevation, they're right here. So what's being proposed is landscaping. So it's between the drive aisle to get into the car wash. So there's going to be a hedge to really help enhance the look of it. So considering it is on the west side, it's going to be behind landscaping. It just, for us, it didn't make sense for them to add any sort of additional elements or materials to enhance it when it can be done with landscaping. So as I just mentioned, right here on the left side, so there's going to be landscaping, a hedge to kind of be a buffer between the car wash and driving through. And we also will make sure that it does comply with our requirements during the building permit process. And with that being said, so they have proposed sufficient landscaping along the entire property. And again, it's a very unified look between the two. So we have the use permit findings. Again, it was provided in the staff report, and I'm happy to go through it with you if needed. And we also have the findings for the tentative parcel map. So with that, it's that none of the following findings required by the code or the California Subdivision Map Act that required the city to deny approval of a tentative map apply to this project. But all of these findings were made, so it meets those requirements. So for the environmental considerations, an environmental was prepared for this project, and after completing it and with the mitigations, we feel that there won't be any major impacts to with the development. So our recommendation tonight is to conduct a public hearing and make the necessary findings to adopt a resolution of the Planning Commission of City of Yuba City approving Environmental Assessment 2315 by adopting a mitigated negative declaration subject to the proposed conditions of approval and mitigation measures, and approving tentative parcel map 2305, creating 3 commercial parcels, and approving use permit 2308 for a convenience store, restaurant with a drive-through, fueling station, and a car wash located at the southwest corner of Walton Avenue and Franklin Road. We do have the applicant here if you would like to ask him any questions, and staff is also available.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
I'm not sure if this is a staff question, but just throwing it out there, just with drought considerations, what specific water saving measures are being implemented with the car wash? Is that something that even the city considers, or?
I'll let you take that, Ben.
So Public Works, we handle the stormwater requirements for the state. And so in the pretreatment, so definitely all of the new car washes have to be recirculating. And then there's also pretreatment processes before it goes into the sewer. And so it will, any of the soaps, any of the detergents, and then the sand and grit, it goes through a pretreatment and goes into the sewer, but they are required to have a recirculating. And then as far as landscaping, anything in California now, it falls under this MWELO. It's minimum water efficiency standards. And so there's new standards when landscaping comes in. There's a whole complicated water calculation that has to be done as far as for this zone, and to kind of start putting it in that nobody's putting in lawns or redwoods anymore. So now based on these new standards, they have to submit that, and then part of the building permit review, they look at those landscape efficiency calcs.
Right. Yeah, they said they have new standards. I do have one other question. This might be for Jesse. Are there any electric vehicle charging stations that are going to be included with the convenience store gas station portion?
So that will be part of the building permit review where they will be required.
Okay.
Yeah, just one clarification. I'm just curious. The driveways, so lots 2 and 3 will be dependent on a driveway on Walton? and one on Franklin. I just want to make sure that lot 2 and 3, or parcels 2 and 3, they'll be developed at the same time, right? So those driveways will be open. Once those businesses open, both driveways will be open?
Confirmed from the applicant. So yes, shown here, we do have the driveway off of Franklin and as well as off of Walton. And then the one on Walton, it's currently existing.
And so the part of the question, though, all those those buildings, infrastructure for parcels 2 and 3, that's all going to be developed at the same time? That's the plan? Yeah.
Yes, that is the plan. Thank you.
Commissioner Campbell?
I have two questions. First question is on the eastern side access off of Walton. What are the accommodations for a left-hand turn from northbound traffic into that? Is there a turn lane? Is there a divider to prevent? Was that addressed in the traffic study?
So the traffic study definitely looked at access for the gas stations. That's a big deal with the truck and trailer coming in for the fueling, and then just the turning movements in. Walton, it's a pinch point there with the Moose Lodge. And then, as we look at, as the city looks at reconstructing and building Walton to the south, that driveway is current. It got pushed as far south as possible for that lot to provide access. And with that, with how it laid out, we allowed the left turn access in. But I think there's some stipulations. Did we talk about medians? That if I needed to put, the city has the right within its right of way if we need to ultimately put a median in, to restrict that in the future. But where it's at, we left it as all access. Northbound left turn is allowed to turn in.
I just know personally from using that several times a day, living in that area, that is a bottleneck. You've got no improvements on the east side and then none where the Moose Lodge is. So I know that's a bottleneck and then you've got to work to get in and out. And
Yeah.
I just have some concerns about traffic moving into that, going left and from the northbound lane. So thank you, Ben.
We're definitely gonna, definitely note it just to add to it and monitor with the Walton improvements that are happening behind the scenes right now. There'll be improvements along the Moose frontage. And then there's talk about looking at design options to move that, 2 lanes come to 1 there, and it's kind of a racetrack going southbound. And we're talking,
Nicely put.
and we're talking about moving that transition, so that doesn't occur right there. And so we're definitely looking at it, kind of under a microscope to figure out how to make that better.
So what you're telling me is I'll have a quarter mile instead of an eighth mile to make that race?
You might have to do it north of Franklin.
Thank you.
But we'll see. Yeah.
Hey, Ben, before you sit, Carrie brings up something that, so when you're going south and you pass the Moose that's on the right, there's a little side street on the left, and it's all right where everything comes 2 to 1. So you're just north of AK School, right? Am I in the right area? Yeah, and so all of a sudden, traffic will abruptly stop because there's residents, there's a lot of apartment complexes. It's almost like that street needs its own turn lane. If you know what I'm talking about, that's gonna be nuts at that intersection when stuff backs up.
Jim,
And
if I
that is the
understand-
talk about a southbound, dual left center median is, I think the goal is we're trying to transition. I don't have the plans in front of me exactly, but we're trying to move that transition so it's not happening right in front of the Moose Lodge. Widen the road in front of the Moose Lodge, so there might be some parking we gotta figure out there, to get that lane width, so then we could have some sort of turning movement, a center turn lane to get people out of the traffic flow.
Yeah, that turn lane, that first street to the left, when somebody stops there to make that left turn and you've got people doing that drag race to that,
That's a good comment. Yeah,
It's the
I'll
wild,
make sure-
wild west, so.
I'll make sure the guys
Thank you,
look
Jim.
at it.
Appreciate you bringing that up. Last question. Were the residents to the south and the west notified that the intent is to build an 8-foot masonry wall in their backyard?
So they were notified, but in the notice, it does not specifically say that it is an 8-foot wall.
Okay, so
I would just add the existing wall to the west is 8 foot, right?
it is 8 foot to the west?
The fence?
Is it a fence? I thought,
It's a fence.
is it a fence? Okay, I'm in the wrong spot.
Is it eight, is it an 8-foot fence?
It's a
Are they
6.
angry sea bass? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So it's a 6-foot good neighbor fence.
Yes, correct. So
So-
this will be a masonry wall.
So my concern is, and I apologize, I didn't get out to look at the backyards on the west side. I'm assuming the ones on the south are probably a little bit more traditional in terms of the lot size, but on the west, if those are the smaller lots with the shorter backyards, I can tell you personally, I would lose my mind if somebody proposed an 8-foot wall in my backyard to block my view of the world. What input, if we act to approve this, what input are the residents going to have when they show up to build an 8-foot wall? Are they at the mercy of the approved permit at that point?
So currently with the way the conditions and the staff report is written, it says a minimum of a 6 foot, so it has to be 6 foot. I think at that time, we can definitely reach back out to the residences and see, if they're open to an 8 foot, and then go from there. So at this time, you are not committing to the 8 foot, and then that would be something at the building permit level, but we can just make a note and to renotice them that it's proposed to be an 8 foot. Because I totally understand what you're saying. When it's like a smaller backyard, then you got an 8-foot wall.
Even, I mean, I live almost a quarter lot, and if somebody was proposing an 8-foot fence on, I would raise Cain, so to speak. So just certainly not acceptable from my perspective. If I was a resident, I would not be in favor of that. The question that then piggybacks off your reply, and thank you, Jaspreet, was the sound, if I heard correctly, the sound study that was done and the numbers that were projected with the improvements and the design was based on an 8-foot masonry wall.
So the study requires a 6 foot, but they said that it suggests the 8 foot to cover potential future uses. So because this is a commercial parcel, so just to help with the noise reduction from the existing residential to a proposed, like a shopping center. So that's what the noise study is saying, just to help with the reduction.
So just to clarify that I didn't hear correctly, these numbers are based on a 6-foot wall, not an 8-foot.
Correct.
Awesome, thank you so much. That's all I have, sir.
All righty. I'd like to open a public hearing. Just state your name and
Good evening.
address.
Yeah, my name is Julio Tinajero from Milestone Associates. We're the design firm for the project here in Yuba City. A lot of the questions been answered as far as the question you guys had. As you guys know, this lot's been empty for a long time, so we're really excited to bring this project to Yuba City. And the design, as mentioned, it's unique. This is the first one I've done with this design ever. So I'm really excited about bringing that here. And we do a lot of commercial development around the state, so we're really aware and conscious of stacking, queuing, traffic, driveways. So we've done a lot of projects here in Yuba City as well as drive-throughs. And so we're really concerned or aware of that. So this design took all that into account, and we feel really good about the layout. One question was brought up about the driveways. I think it was, once that other parcel 1 gets developed in the future sometime, that will also have a shared driveway, which will allow for more circulation. So although right now only parcel 2 and 3, they're sharing the driveways, that parcel 1 in the future would help with that if there's any issues with that. The road widening, we feel that will help as well as far as the traffic on Franklin. So we're good with that. And as far as the conditions, everything was reviewed by us, and we're good with that as well. So with that, if there's any questions I can answer regarding design or this project, I'd be happy to do so.
Any questions?
No questions, just actually comment, great design.
Thank
Liked
you.
it, yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Anybody else from the public like to speak? All right, I'd like to close the public hearing. Commission ready to make a motion?
Through the chair, I did have one more comment. Just going back to kind of like the noise that it's going to generate. The equipment that's going to be used, it was stated, I think, that it is state-of-the-art and it's designed to mitigate kind of like that noise aspect. Am I correct in assuming that? Because I foresee this coming to fruition and angry mobs saying that it's too loud.
Yeah, so in the noise study, it seems like I was ready for this question because these are the mitigations in the noise study of the equipment that they are recommending. And then when we did discuss this with the applicant, they did say it's more of a central vacuum, so you won't hear the vacuum running continuously. So it's not your typical like car wash with the vacuums that you hear nonstop. So these are some of the mitigations that were required or stated in the noise study, which will help with alleviating the noise being produced.
Thank you.
Okay. Are we ready for a motion?
Okay, I'll like to a motion to adopt a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Yuba City approving environmental assessment 23-15 by adopting a mitigating negative declaration subject to proposed conditions of approval and mitigation measures, and approve the use permit of 23-08 for a convenience store, fueling station, car wash, and restaurant with a drive-through located on the southwest corner of Walton and Franklin Road.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Campbell,
Aye.
Commissioner Dale,
Aye.
Commissioner Sandu,
Aye.
Commissioner Noor,
Aye.
Vice Chairperson Brookman.
Aye. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
All right. Item 8, future agenda items. Mr. Doug Livy will provide an update for future agenda items.
Good evening, Mr. Vice Chair. And once again, Jaspreet, great job tonight. Okay, for future agenda items, we're going to give you July 10th off. So try to stay cool. And then we're going to come back on July 24th, where we're going to have at least one item for you. We touched on it at our last meeting. That's the Butte Vista Estates East Subdivision, 37 single-family residential lots up in the northwest part of Yuba City, just south of the Johnson Ranch subdivision that the commission approved back on May 31st of last year. And then we are trying to put the final touches on our general plan refresh. We talked about it and with some level of detail at our workshop with the city council back in March. And so the final updates on mapping are being done for the document, incorporating pictures, going through any last minute changes. So we're hoping to have that for you in the near future. And just to reiterate, so this is not a comprehensive general plan update. This is, I think Ben described it best, put a new coat of paint, new set of tires on it. We're not changing any of the land use. So this is to do an update to bring it consistent with state law, do some streamlining in the document where we need to. And so it's not like we're having radical changes to the land use. So, and so with that, that would conclude my comments.
Item 9, Development Services Director Report. Mr. Ben Moody.
You know, Doug really nailed kind of what's going on. I just take the opportunity to introduce our new assistant planner, Lolly Schaefer. Not to embarrass her, but she's new with us, been here almost a week, maybe? I can't even remember. Time's flying by, but it's brand new to the team, and so we're looking forward to having more help at the Planning Commission. And so with that, I really don't have a lot of updates, so if any questions for me, that's all I got.
I have an administrative question for anybody, but when Vice Chair Brookman recused himself, is that something that we on the commission have to catch ourselves, or does the city look at where we live? So you catch that yourself? Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll try to be aware of that, but sometimes I can see that might just, good job. All right.
Yeah, that's definitely come up in the past, and we don't know all of the properties. We do every year when we have a new planning commission or a new city council, we try to do a map and kind of lay out like a little the ground rules about these 300-foot, 500-foot, 1,000-foot kind of bubbles because there's some areas that it's recommended, but it's not required. And so we try to look out for you, but if there's some property that we don't, because we don't know about maybe certain parcels that you are tied to. So definitely take that into consideration. And if it comes up, just shoot us a message and we'll get the attorney involved and then we kind of walk through it beforehand. But if there's any questions, or if there is any, uncertainness, definitely let us know, and we'll, even if it's last minute at a meeting, sometimes it clicks. We could cause a pause for a minute, and we could kind of walk through that if we need to, or recuse yourself.
No, we haven't had a meeting in quite some time, so nothing to report. Yeah. You got shorted, my friend. Nothing. I have absolutely nothing to report. Thank you. Thank you all.